and the monetization of our body politic. I think I had a conversation with somebody a while ago as to when this actually crept into our body politic. And we all agree that at the dawn of 1992, when this started, it was not the case. He probably estimates that it probably began in the 2000s, basically. It was when uh, our politicians from both sides began to live fat and began, because apparently in the early, in those 90s, MPs, for example, lived a very, very simple life. Right? He would often go to his constituency, sometimes on a motorbike, sometimes with a Peugeot, was what the government gave them money to purchase in those days.
Yeah.
That is not to say there were no Land Cruisers in those days. That's not to say there were no Pajaros in those days. They were all there, but they gave them Peugeots. And so ordinary people found, parliamentarians to be ordinary human beings. But the moment we as a country, lifted the bar and jumped into our Land Cruiser, regime and so on and so forth, the electorate began to realize that actually there's money in this business. I have voted for somebody. His life has changed overnight. He doesn't live in my constituency anymore. He lives in Accra. He comes down. He drives a very fat car, and therefore maybe I need to demand a pound of flesh because again others argue that it is because our MPs have not often gone to the constituency enough, and so therefore if I vote for you and the next time I see you will be in 4 years, then I will demand a pound of flesh now. And when you come back in 4 years, I'll demand it again. So there are various, but I think it would be worth an academic research or exercise for somebody to go into this, maybe for one of our think tanks to go into this, find out what actually caused it and when it actually started, and then proceed from there to begin to give solutions to it. On top of my head, I'll probably think that it will require civic education right down to our secondary schools and into our junior secondary schools, that we can actually, and conscientize and enlighten our young people that that is not the way politics works. It's not all about money, and that is it amounts to bribery. And for anything at all, if for nothing at all, bribery is against the law in our constitution. And therefore, if we go down that far, I suppose that we might probably begin to turn this around. It would also be the duty of political parties within the education wings of political parties, perhaps to educate their members that listen, this is not about money. It's about governance. It's about bringing our ideas and our ideologies to bear on the country for the good of the entire country and not for individuals. Therefore, it is not about money. But I think it would be difficult for us to take this out of our body politic. I mean, somebody was telling me that these days, if you go down to we're talking about how we can kick corruption out of our body politic. And we are like, look, political parties have gone down even to the level of universities. And nearly every SRC president is now a potential MP. They've been groomed from that level onwards. Political parties have gone into that space where they actually fund, the elections of SRC presidents. So that is how difficult and that is how much the canker has festered. And therefore, it will be difficult to cut it off. But I suppose at some point we'll have a breed of leaders who might determine that actually this is not the way to go and this is a race to the bottom. And it might be that at that point you probably stop, but it will be difficult.
Some messages here before we move on to our second topic for the day. Good morning. The Supreme